Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Mechanical Marie Season 1, Episode 7. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, there's a competition happening at the school. Basically, these two sibling schools, the school that Arthur and Marie go to, and its sister school, are basically going to a competition. It's like an event, and it's like throughout all these events, the winner at the end of it all, that's the schools are going to basically combine, and whichever school comes out on top, that one gets to keep its name, while the other one kind of gets folded in. And Arthur wants to do his best because the pride of more so like his dad went to the school he goes to, so it's almost like a bit of pride of like, right, I want to keep this school the same as the one my father went to. And so obviously Marie wants to give her support and help out however she can. Then she meets Daryl, Arthur's quote-unquote best friend, which I went into this episode, I didn't remember that until it came up, but the preview for this episode, I talked about that last week. And so I was like, but I wasn't expecting the development to be what it was. I immediately thought it was suspicious when he was like, hey, I'm Arthur's best friend. It's like, he did specifically choose something that he's like, oh, I know Arthur well enough to know he doesn't like green peppers, which, you know, Marie was like, oh, that was enough to be like, you really are. And I was like, well, it's understandable. You have to be suspicious. You're new in Arthur's life. But it's like, he's never mentioned any friends. Because in truth be told is Arthur doesn't really have friends. There's people he interacts with, but he always keeps people at a distance. And I think up until now, he probably would have mentioned a best friend, but we now know because there's complicated history there, which I'll get to in a bit. But I knew something suspicious the moment he's like, oh, what events is Arthur playing in? Because he even said like, oh yeah, because we're facing off against each other or something like that. I guess, or rather he was saying like, I'll see if we end up facing off against each other. But him wanting to know what events Arthur did, I thought was suspicious, because like, hey, if you're his best friend, you would have like already known that. Because also like him knowing what he knows about Arthur, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, because, you know, well, I was about to say maybe it still would, because it's like you have to be close enough to Arthur to know something like that, because there's probably information that isn't just readily available. Like, who knows how many people know publicly, or how much information is out there about Arthur, about him not liking green peppers. But I was like, maybe you could find out that information, but like probably a lot of stuff about him, like small stuff like that, you probably have to know him. But, you know, there's probably ways you could get around that, but still. And so the first competition was kind of like, oh, it was like the hurdles on the back of horses. But like partway through the event, you have Daryl saying like, hey, Arthur, and he's making signs with his hands, and then the horse gets shot. I was like, oh, God. I was like, what a dick. And Arthur ended up getting hurt, but trying to be who he is. It's like, hey, look after the horse first. I'm good. I'm okay. I'll check out at the nurse's office later. But then, like, you know, and Marie, too, picks up on, like, there's people in the crowd. So Marie goes to check on Arthur and learns the truth about Daryl. That when he was younger, Arthur didn't have many friends, because this is before he was fully recognized as the heir to his family. He was still just the stepchild, the illegitimate child. And so he was picked on because people looked at him as lesser than, because it's probably a very prestigious school he goes to, only the creme of the creme, and here's this nobody coming up and like making a name for himself. It's like, you're getting better grades than us, jealousy riddled, like insults being flung his way and being beat up. And then the only person who could be by his side and was his friend was Daryl, because they came from similar situations. Like, he's the stepchild, I am too. It seemed like they were picking on him. They picked on me. It's like, at least he had one friend, you know? But then, like, you're like, well, because my initial thought was, oh, it's because at this point, Arthur hasn't been recognized as the heir to his family. I thought maybe Daryl's relationship with Arthur would change the moment he was recognized as, because it's like, right, we're in the same boat, we're in the exact same boat, and here you are skyrocketing ahead of me. So it's kind of like I'm feeling like I'm left behind. I thought that's where the animosity came from, because he was recognized as the heir. But we find out, especially with the piano thing, like him offering, oh, my music sheets are going, oh, here's just water, then you happen to pass out. He's like, oh, you were up practicing. I was like, all right, this seems suspicious, and then we find out the truth. Like, once again, it's clear that Daryl was behind that, but the question was his reasoning, and we find out he was jealous of Arthur. It's like, oh, that punk, like, I can't let him, like, skate ahead of me. Like, he was paying, I don't know if he necessarily paid the bullies to beat him up, which I'm assuming he did. You can't put it past him, but he definitely bought, like, the sleeping pills that he put in his water. It's like, Jesus, this kid is a menace. And for Arthur, that was the biggest betrayal of, like, man, this person, he was kind of my own, not only was Daryl his best friend, it was his only friend. When he felt like he had no place to belong, he only had Daryl. And just to have that one kind of safe space and that safe place and that person in your life to kind of be immediately uprooted to find out they were playing you, it's heartbreaking. And so based on it, I was curious. I was like, did he ever confront Daryl, or did he just keep his distance from Daryl? Because it's unclear. Because Daryl later on is saying, like, well, he still thinks of me as his best friend, even if he knows I'm not. Because it does seem like so Arthur must have confronted him at some point in time, or for like Daryl to kind of have that line of dialogue. So that's why I'm like, it's like, like, I'm not your best friend, but on some psychological level, you can't let go of me because I was so important to you. So Daryl was really leaning into that. So that's why I'm like, I don't know when that confrontation happened, if it happened at all. But either way, hearing this story pissed Marie off. And Marie even brings it up later on. What Daryl did plays a massive contributing role to why Arthur doesn't trust people, because the last time he let his guard down to trust someone, it ended with betrayal, which, it probably also leads to like a complicated feeling for Marie, because yes, she's lying to Arthur, but her feelings towards him are true and genuine, unlike Daryl, who's lying to him and everything about him is false. Whereas Marie, it's like, I'm lying about being a robot, but my feelings and my dedication and my want to protect you is there, and it is genuine, So, but yeah, going back to it, Marie, like, kicking and punching and tearing down that tree, because for her, it's like, Arthur won't allow himself to feel the amounts of betrayal and, like, anger he's feeling, and Marie's, like, venting all that, like, just on her own behalf, but also because Arthur can't. So she wants to make a point to kind of, put him in his place, especially, because Arthur can't participate in, like, the last event, which is like a piggyback event. And then also Noah shows up to be helpful. But it's like, he said he has his own reasons for wanting to help, because it turns out that people from the other school were trying to compromise things. Marie, too, and Noah ended up working together, which even Marie's like, didn't you say you were going to turn this guy into, like, hamburger steak? It's like, you guys are working together, but it's like, the enemy of my enemy is kind of just another enemy, but we'll kind of put our beef aside for now. And even Marie's willing to do that if it means helping kind of get some get back for Arthur. So when it comes down to it, the final competition being, like I said, this piggyback event, and what's his face is basically kind of gloating that Arthur's not there, and Marie's making a declaration to take him down. But luckily, she wasn't the only one there. Obviously, I forgot to talk about them earlier in the episode, is the Arthur fan club, because Marie ended up helping out one of them, Amy, and then there's also the main members who were like, during the first event with Arthur and the horse, I love that they put on horse ears. It's interesting timing because of what is it? Is it Umasame or something like that? The horse game / anime that's become a lot. I mean, obviously that was around a while in Japan, but obviously it's only recently made its way over. Not recently, but fairly recently this year made its way over, at least here to the States. I'm trying to remember. Is that what it is? Otomase? It's Uma Musume. Sorry about that. I was completely off. But yeah, like it gave me those vibes. But they were saying like, oh, like if we're here and we're dressed like this, maybe Arthur would make the mistake that we're like horses and mount us. I was like, God, you guys are severely down bad. Holy shit. So, but yeah, they're participating in the piggyback event and they're helping take down some people. But obviously, Daryl's got more people and ends up cheating again. And it finally comes down to a 2v1 and then finally a 1v1, but more cheating. And before Marie could fall, Noah grabs her, comes in clutch, and I even love Marie being like, yes, because of this, I am glad you exist. This one time, I'm glad for your existence. And she comes out on top. They're even like, oh, does that technically count? It's like, well, there's no rules. The rule is only if the leader of the thing falls, that's an automatic loss. It's like she never touched the ground, so it's fine. But her and Daryl struggling, he's like, oh, I'm Arthur's best friend. Like, can you really do this? It's like, right, he believes in me even if he doesn't really believe in me. And she's just like, yeah, you betrayed him, call him out for being the terrible person he is, and ends up winning. But at the end of the day, he was such a bastard that he's enjoying. He's like, hey, Arthur, like, ended up not trusting people. It's like, cool, I'm so inside of his head that I ruined his life in that capacity. So as a rival, I'm coming out on top. But Marie was about to punch him, but Arthur came and punched him in the face, and everyone's like, oh wait, they're not best friends? Because yeah, everyone believed the BS that he was spreading, that they were best friends and stuff. Because he probably went out of his way to spread that word, but also probably that was just a general thing people knew about Arthur. But it's like, no, the fan club, if they probably heard all the foul stuff he did towards Arthur, they'd probably eat him alive. But when it's all said and done, Arthur presents all this evidence back from when they were kids. He was like, I wasn't just like some kid, like I was playing the role of a weak kid to gather up all of this evidence. But the thing is, because he cared about Daryl, because he could never fully like detach what Daryl meant to him, like what you symbolize versus who you really were, because he couldn't reconcile with that and just kind of completely, separate the two. That's why he kept all that evidence this entire time. So it's like, right. And these kids have confessed, like, hey, they were here because you threatened to basically get them kicked out of the school. So they kind of, you were blackmailing them and threatening them. So Daryl's like, but we're best friends, right? And it's like, yeah, you were. He's like, the fact of the matter is, when I had no place to kind of call my own, when I had no one, you were there for me, but I don't need you anymore, because luckily he has Marie. Marie fills that void for him. She makes him feel like he belongs. He has someone he can trust. He confided into her something he hasn't talked to anyone about, and that's the Daryl stuff. And so Marie too is dragging Daryl away. I thought it was beautiful where, like, Marie's like, yeah, I knew you were strong enough to handle this on your own. But he's like, no, like, it's because I have you by my side. Like, you help make me become stronger. Your trust in me and your belief in me is what matters in the end. So thought that was kind of a beautiful resolution to the whole situation. And then ending on, like, Arthur playing the piano. And, I believe it was Roy being like, oh, I haven't heard that in a long time. And even Marie too being like, oh, you can tell what the player's feeling through the tempo of the music and stuff. And it's just kind of like something that's been weighing on Arthur for a very long time. That shadow's kind of lifted just a little bit from his heart. It hasn't completely healed all his trauma and wounds, but it's a massive step in the right direction. So, based on a promo for the next episode, seems like it's going to be kind of a vacation with Marie and Arthur. Granted, it's not going to be the just duo thing that Marie would probably hope it would be, but it seems like there's going to be some complications on that front. But it's going to be interesting to see where the next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.